And I would give the word to Martin Neumann and also the screen.
Okay. Thank you very much. I try to. Can you see now my slides?
Yes, it's working. Okay. So you also have your 15 minutes, and I will also write you in the chat for the last 5 minutes.
Okay, so thank you very much. I like to present replication of a resource-based model of the emergence of the state. I have to admit, first of all, the model is a replication. The original model has been described in an old book that is now 30 years old about this civilization dynamics. And because it's so old, it's not an agent-based model, it's a system dynamics model. And what we did, we replicated the model which has been written in this language Dynamo, which was the state of the art 30 years ago, to a more recent modeling language called PowerSim. And what we additionally did was a sensitivity analysis for the purpose of experimenting with theories. In the discussion about how to validate simulation models, there's an ongoing debate what can be done. And one differentiation that has been made in this discussion is called differentiation between weak exploration of models, which is an investigation of the parameter uncertainty, and a strong exploration, which is an investigation of theoretical uncertainty. And certainly, measuring parameter values in archaeology is quite tricky because of sparse data. And so a sensitivity analysis is first of all a weak exploration of parameter uncertainty. But what we found out was when varying certain parameters is that it allows also, it provides a means as a sensitivity analysis to enhance a rational discussion about the assumptions built into the model, and thereby opening a way to a strong evaluation of theoretical uncertainty. And I would like to show one example for this. First of all, about the theoretical framework of this model. It's a theory of so-called civilization dynamics of so-called power territories, which is, so to say, a macro-social theory. It investigates the operational mechanisms of society as it is a system dynamics model and not an agent-based model. And it also assumes that it's a relatively large, at least 10,000 members need to be part of this society. So it's not about small bands of 20 or 50 hominids. And so the assumption is that the social mechanisms is here that is investigated here is that the transformation of factual questions into questions of power, how to solve the input of which are some forms of social problems which lead to the output of some kind of problem-solving strategy, but by a transformational mechanism of decision centers. You can think about these decision centers as positions in hierarchies, which are then called power territories. And these power territories serve clients in specific competence fields. You may think, for instance, about health or defense or spiritual services, for which they have these power territories, these hierarchical positions, have specialized competences. And so what is now the subsistence base? This is here, comes now to resources. The subsistence base for, so to say, feeding these hierarchical positions. This is done by a certain modeling strategy that production volume is measured in existence minima, called C. So that means that the production volume of 1 equals the production volume that is sufficient for the survival of one person. So if you then have n as a number of members of a social unit, then certainly what need to be produced is the subsistence minima multiplied with the number of persons, which is then here denoted as x. And this has been done gathered by the productive members of the society, which is called PY. So the sum of these PYs need to be equal or greater than this X, which is a minimal level of production necessary for the sustaining of the society. So we could assume that the number of productive members is a little bit, it cannot be greater than the number of the members of society, but certainly you have also children, you have elderly people. So there are some people that even in every society, the number of productive members is a little bit smaller than the members of the society. So every productive member has a certain level of productivity called here with a C, and so and certainly there's also a certain risk and with a certain standard deviation, because weather before and changing environmental conditions. But if you forget about this here, then certainly the level of productivity multiplied with the productive members of society, they need to generate a certain amount of food, they need to gather a certain amount of food that is at least equals this X, which is the number which is necessary subsistence base for the survival of the society. But also certainly it can be greater. The amount of produced goods can be greater than what is needed for the subsistence of the society. And so this is then the surplus of the society. And if you subtract from the overall amount of food that is gathered, measured in times of subsistence minima, and when you then subtract the number of people who are actually living in the society, then it might be not zero, but might be greater than zero. And this is what it's called virtual heads in the theoretical framework. And this the virtual heads, provides a financial basis for these power territories, for these hierarchical positions, which can then serve other means than just gathering food in the wood. So this is a little bit about the theory background, and I have no time here now in going into the details of the model. But basically, the objective of the model is modeling the distribution and the redistribution of the surplus, this V, the virtual heads. And what can be seen when running the model, that there is you can see here a nonlinear dynamics here, and you see a sudden increase in positions in these power territories. It starts with already not with 0 positions, so it starts with 2.5 positions, and in the end we have 480 positions here of the simulation run. And this is then denoted as the emergence of the state in this modeling framework. Moreover, it goes along with a changing of redistribution strategies. There are 2 strategies: enhancing the competence field. In case of budget shortening, this would be kind of expanding strategy, or saving expenditures in case of budget shortening. And you see that the emergence of the state, at the same time, there's a switch in these redistribution strategies. And moreover, it goes along this change in redistribution strategies with a change of the income of the people who are called the working class in this model. You see that before the emergence of the state, you have the dotted line here is the total income, including also transfers, and the solid black line is the one is the total is the wages without the transfers. And you see that before the emergence of the state, wages, there is no transfer, nearly no transfer. But with the emergence of the state, it goes along with a sharp decrease of the wages, but also for the first time you have considerable transfers that come from the power territory system. So the decrease in wages is partly compensated by transfers. And so this is a little bit about the model results. And now I would like to come to our sensitivity analysis. And I concentrate here on one parameter of the model, which is called the bargaining power of the working class. So the bargaining power is a parameter which can be between 0 and 1. 1 would be complete bargaining power, and 0 is no bargaining power at all. And we show this in relation to the number of hierarchical positions, the emergence of positions. And you see here that, first of all, the emergence of the state is highly sensitive to the bargaining power of the working class. Where you see here, in the case of 1, there is no dynamics at all in the model. No positions emerge because all food is going directly to the working classes, to the productive members of the social unit. And you see here, when there's no bargaining power at all, then there's a very strong, very high number of hierarchical positions. And moreover, you see two thresholds here, one between 0.5 and 0.3, and one between 0.9, which is very sharp, this threshold here, and 0.7, I would say. And in the original standard scenario, it was 0.857 for what reason ever. And these thresholds now are relatively easy to explain, because the first threshold is indicates just that the subsistence minimum was reached. So there is no further reduction of wages possible, because then each productive member of the social unit only gets what is necessary for subsistence, and so no further reduction is possible, and which also means that no more emergence of hierarchical positions is possible. The other threshold shows, okay, if the working class has complete bargaining power, then all produced goods are distributed to the working class, and so no creation of positions is possible. However, in this threshold between 0.9 and 0.7, a self-organized process starts, which enfolds an autocatalytic power that is only possible if a certain level of positions is already created. And this is the beginning of the dynamics of redistribution strategies. And what I would like to finally discuss here in my concluding discussion, it's coming back to what I said, this investigation of parameter uncertainty versus investigation of theoretical uncertainty, and how this parameter exploration helps in thinking about theoretical questions. So there's a very old, 50-year-old investigation of Carneiro, who compared the state formation in the Andes mountain with the Amazon rainforest, where no state emerged. But he claimed that in both cases, also in the Amazon rainforest, it was possible to harvest much more for a single member of the social unit, much more than is necessary for subsistence. So there would be, so to say, enough economic resources for the emergence of the state to have been possible. And Carneiro's thesis was now that in the rainforest, it was relatively easy for people to flee from conquerors, which was not possible in the situation of the Andes, where you had the Pacific Ocean on the one hand, and the mountains on the other hand, where there was not much land left for exploiting resources. So this could be interpreted as a kind of bargaining power, where in the one hand, in the kind of the Amazon rainforest, the parameter of the bargaining power of the working class was relatively near to 1, because it was very easy to flee from conquerors, whereas in the Andes region, the bargaining power was relatively low, which then could lead to the emergence of the state in the Andes region. And so the thesis I would like to argue for here was that this modeling and experimenting with models is also a means to think through the causal thicket of social mechanisms. And yeah, basically that's all I would want to say, and would like to thank you. And I think I was talking very, very fast because I thought I have so many slides, but I think I'm quite good in time now.
Yeah, that was very nice. Thank you very much, Martin. It was a very nice presentation. The same as the one before. I would say we just go on now with the next one and then get our feedback on all three, just to save a bit of time of the overhead of organization.
So.
Okay, thanks.